Welcome to Jackie Wall Studio and the Macrame Wreath Ornament tutorial. What you will need today to make these two gorgeous rings are a couple of wood rings. I am using a 2.5 inch or 6.5 centimeter and a 2.25 inch or 5.5 centimeter ring. There is for the first one, and this is for the second one. Also, if you have some beads to add a little bit of detail like I've done here, or some buttons or wood little cutouts like I have, so you can decorate them as you wish. You'll also need a scissor, and I am using 3mm cotton cord, macrame cord today. So those are the things you will need. Oh, and of course a ruler, because we are going to want to measure all of our components. You'll also need a comb for brushing out the cord at the end of this wreath. You can just use a regular one, or I have this one with the wire teeth that is actually used for pet grooming, which works fantastic. And then you need to cut your cords. So I need one cord that is 15 inches long, and then for my wooden ring, I need 32 that are 7.5 inches long, 20 centimeters and 37 centimeters approximately. Let's get started. The first thing you need to do is take your 15 inch or 37 centimeter piece of cord, fold it in half, pop the ends of that underneath your ring, and just fold them over and pull them through that loop. And this is going to be where we are going to hang our ornament from. Now I have some beads that I'm going to use to add, just to add a little bit more of a boho look. These are optional, but you can also finish it off at the end. I'll show you some other ideas for finishing off your ornament. So I'm just going to place these on, and then we will get to the rest. And then to secure that, I am just going to wrap that around my finger and pull those ends through. And this is how we will be hanging it from our tree or wherever we want to hang it. The rest of this ornament is done the same way. So now we are going to take our shorter pieces of cord, which are about 7.5 inches or 20 centimeters, fold it in half, take those two ends, put it underneath your ring, and then pull it through that loop. Okay, let's do that again. You're just going to fold your piece of cord in half, slide those ends underneath that wood ring, and pull the ends through that loop. And there we go. Ends underneath, pull through that loop. We're just going to continue doing that all the way around. By the way, this knot is called a lark's head knot. So fold it in half, go underneath, and go through, and that is your lark's head knot. I'm just going to complete this, and then I'll see you back at the end. So you're going to want to make sure to squish those together so you can get as many as you can to make a nice full wreath ornament. Looks like I can get a few more on there. And if you would like to make sure that these are not going to come off, depending on the type of cord you're using, you could flip this over and make sure they're nice and tight before you do that, and just dab a little bit of glue on the back here, and then just let it dry like that to make sure that they are going to stay. Okay, it looks like if I get one more on here, we can move to the next step. And there we go. To make sure they're really secure, I just grab the ends and put my finger right there by the knot and just go around and give those a good pull. And you will be able to see that your knots will be kind of uniform all the way around. And then you can just pop that over and secure it with some glue and let it dry before you move to the next step. The next thing that I'm going to do is to cut all these ends so they are the approximate same length. You don't have to be perfect, because when you fan this, it is going to be, it's going to kind of blend in a little bit. But you can use a ruler to make sure that you're staying uniform, but I am just going to go around and get it approximate. You can always trim this later. Just going to eyeball it as I go around, making sure it's about the same length. How am I doing? Pretty good. All right. So I'll just continue to go around and try to make them all about this same length right here. And now we are at the final step. So you are going to take your comb. I have, as I said, this pet comb actually with metal teeth. That's not necessary. Any comb will do. And just start at the end and comb this out. You're going to do that all the way around. And it'll just take a little bit of time and patience, and then you'll also be able to see where you may need to trim a little bit further as you're going around. Now, you could have combed everything out and then trimmed. I like to do both. I find it's a little bit easier while they're still before they're combed out, that it's a little bit easier to try to get them uniform before I comb them out, and then I can just do any final combing after. And there you have it. You can use some hairspray or comb in some glue or some starch if you want to have these stiffened up a little bit. But this is a beautiful, easy to make Christmas ornament to hang on your tree, on a doorknob, on a hook on the wall. Make several of them and string them together and make a nice garland. Easy to do, great project for you and your kids. For the next ornament, I am going to be using it's about 2.25 inch ring, so about 5 centimeters, but I'm going to round that up to 2.5 inches. And for this one, you're going to have to do a little bit of math. So I have used 2.5 inches, which is the diameter right there. And I'm going to multiply that by pi, 3.14. I'm going to times that by 3 and then that amount by 4. So in effect, pi d times 12 to get how many inches I'm going to need for this. It sounds like a lot, but I'm going to need 95 inches, which I have cut right here, to do this next Christmas wreath ornament. This is the very same process as we did for the last one. It's just using one long piece of cord. So what I'm going to do is the same as before. I'm going to put my two ends underneath. I'm just going to pull those through a little bit. Now what I want to do is the top one is going to be very long and this bottom one is only going to be about 12 centimeters. Well, I'm going to make it about 7.5 7.5 inches. Well, let's go from here to 7 inches. So that's about 18 or so centimeters, because this is where we're going to be tying. This long one over here, we are going to be wrapping continuously around our wooden ring. So I'm going to just put my finger on that, and I'm going to start pulling this through. I'm going to keep pulling it through until I see a loop on this end. Now I'm still going to bring my 2 ends through the loop. So this end right here, I'm going to bring that through the loop, but I am just going to pull that off to the side and hold that. And then my other end, I'm going to bring through this loop, and I'm going to pull it all the way through. And here is how we have now created another lark's head knot. We just have one short end and one really long end. Now we're going to do that again, but we're not going to use this end anymore. I'm going to just take this other end, put it underneath, and pull it through. Keep pulling it. Oops, I got it hooked over here. Just keep pulling it, and that'll happen. It might get tangled and hooked until I have a loop there. And then I'm just going to take that long end and put it back through this loop and pull it through. And there we've created another one. So you're going to want to make sure that these are nice and tight as you go, because it's easier to tighten them as you go than at the end. Okay, let's do that again. I'm going to find my end. I'm going to put it underneath my ring. I'm going to pull it through until I have a small loop. I'm going to grab the end again and put it through that loop and pull it through and make it nice and tight. And I'm just going to continue that all the way around. All right, I'm coming to the end here. So I'm just going to keep working until my end is approximately the same length as the one that I started with. So I can just squish those a little bit. You can just move them down. So you do have a little bit of forgiveness as you're doing this with the amount of cord, because you can determine how close you want those. Okay, I think I'm going to do one more. There we go. Now those two are very close. All right. Now to finish this off, I could do it just like the other one if I wanted it to match, and put 3 beads through there and then just tie off the top like we did with the last one. So just slide those 3 beads on and then just tie a knot around your fingers, and it could be finished off that way. Or I found these little guys, so I could just tie a knot right there and another one at the top and just glue this on for a little bit of different look. You could use buttons, you could use little bows, whatever you find that could make it fun and festive. Thank you for watching, and remember to subscribe to Just Keep Creating.